Well, the weather for the whole of the south of England will continue as it has for the next few weeks. It's going to be hot and moist, with temperatures rising steadily as time goes on. There's a chance of steamy moments as we move into the... sod it. We never wanted to do this. We never wanted to be weathermen and women making innuendos about hot atmospheres and drizzly countries. We didn't want to be child-friendly. We didn't want to bang on about being for over 18s only. We want to talk about our sexy adventures. We want to be lifestylers, leaping from bush to bush as we sail down the rivers of British sex clubs and mountains of crazy experiences. The cheeky purple mamba, the liquid silk pumped liberally into our hand, the rodeo classic brief harness complete with Tantus curve, the Enjoy Pure One stainless steel dildo, the hot octopus digit, the ever so short messages on Fab Swingers, the sexy friends on Twitter, and the mighty vanilla alternative. With my best girlie by my side, we'd swing, swing, swing.
Get in the gym or to your car. With our advice you could go far. We fuck things up and we make mistakes. And talk about our sexy dates. It's getting hard for this to rhyme. Just as well, 'cause it's bed hopping time.
Hello and welcome to the Bed Hoppers podcast. My name's Mr. H.
I'm Mrs. H.
This is episode 83, and in this episode, we are going to be tackling quite a big bugger, really.
A big bugger?
Quite a big bugger.
Is that your position of the week?
It is.
The big bugger.
Yeah, you can get them at Burger King, the half price off, you get vouchers through the door, it's all fine, it's all good.
Oh, what's in your big bugger then?
Well, and this week, we are going to be tackling the Channel 4 documentary, Swingers.
That is a big bugger.
Hashtag Swingers.
Yes.
Which has been pretty much all we've seen for the last couple of days. Now, this came out on Monday for us.
Yep.
Not that the date matters, because you might be listening to this on a different week.
You might not have even watched it yet.
Yeah, you might not have even seen it. But if you have seen it, great, thank you. We were on that documentary.
No shit.
I know, right? But we talked about it in our last episode, about the nervousness that we were feeling, kind of the emotions that we were going through. And then on Monday, we sat down and watched it.
Bit giddy. I was giddy as a kipper.
Well, I think it's fair to say that in the hour leading up to it, in fact, the day throughout the day, we went through a whole range of emotions.
I was on that bloody change curve more times than you could blink.
It was an interesting one because, you know, we were kind of excited to see it, but we were also really nervous about how the lifestyle and us were going to be portrayed.
Because we hadn't seen it in advance.
Yeah, so we didn't get to see it in advance. We didn't have a say in the edit. All that happened to us effectively was that they were filmed for a day and then we went to a club and we were filmed there.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the next day we posed for some photos.
Exactly. And then we put it out of our mind for many, many months.
Yeah. Well, Coronageddon rumbled on.
Yeah.
And then it was on television on Channel 4 in the UK.
Oh my God.
So in the lead up to it, we went through every emotion.
Oh my goodness.
And Mrs. H at certain points was very, very calm and tranquil and was like, yeah, it's fine. There's an hour to go. I'm fine. Gets to 10 minutes before and all I can hear is fuck, cunt, fuck, bollocks, fuck, cunt, fuck, bollocks, shit.
Wow. Okay. I went and sat in the bath and stared into the abyss for a while because I had
is
to
that
do
another name for your...
No, it is not. In this case, the abyss was a very large glass of Merlot.
Yeah.
Because I needed to distract myself and just calm down a little bit because I was just giddy.
Well, we both needed to calm the fuck down. And I was worried because I wanted to record it. And I needed to make sure that the machine I was using, I could sit there and press record at the right time and not fuck it up because I wanted to be able to share it with some friends.
Yeah, so I was giddy for different reasons because I know nothing about this technology.
No, I know. You just sat there and watched the television. So, yeah.
No. I was giddy, I think, because so many people were messaging us on the run-up to this airing and sort of reminding me constantly of what was coming. And it was this real, like, sword of Damocles moment. Like, it's just too late now. The genie's at the bottle. I've got to just, like, go with it.
Well, that's the thing. We were on the roller coaster and we just had to let the ride take its course.
Oh, goodness.
But it was quite funny because people were having watch parties. So my sister had a watch party with all their mates in the house. Hello, ladies, if you're listening.
Oh, my goodness.
And we knew that they were on top of it. We knew people from work were watching it and they were having their own little watch parties.
Well, interestingly, if we weren't still stuck in the middle of Coronageddon, and we obviously still very much are subject to that, I think we would have probably tried to do something ourselves with like maybe a bunch of lovely people together and all sat and watched it.
We'd have projected it onto the side of the Houses of Parliament.
But because, that's still not really happening and, socialising in numbers isn't still that good an idea, we just watched it on our own, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which was really sweet in the end. And I'm quite glad that we did. But it would also have been nice to have some safety in numbers to, cheer us along. But we had like a live commentary from everyone. So it was great.
Yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah.
So we should point out, so if this is your first time listening or if you haven't figured out, we were Simon and Carolyn in the show.
Oh my God, real names.
Real names.
I mean, I'm Simon.
And
Oops. You'd never have known.
no, you'd never have guessed.
All these years, I just thought you were Carlos Spicy Wiener. Turns out you're Carolyn.
No, I am Carolyn, as it's pronounced Carolyn, like Evil Lynn.
Like Evil Lynn.
Like
yeah.
Evil Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite interesting as well. So our names were out there.
We're really exposed.
Yeah, but the
more
funny,
ways than one.
Well, yeah, very much so. But the funny thing is that we've always called each other Mr. and Mrs. H.
Absolutely.
Well, since
even
we've been
before
married.
we had to call each other like anonymous names, we always referred to each other as that anyway,
Yeah,
which is
so
really endearing.
We'll probably keep doing that.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks, Simon. So, Mrs. H, or Carolyn, if that is your real name.
Tits McGee.
Tits McGee. How did it feel to be on the show, watching it? Describe your emotions watching it.
Oh, my God. Right. Actually, watching it there and then in front of me, acceptance hit me. I was ultimately, and I'll be really honest here, I was extremely nervous when I saw the opening scene was a condom wrapper.
Yeah.
I really, really, my heart sunk and I got that feeling in the pit of my stomach where you're like, oh shit. So the condom wrapper did nothing to kind of quell that feeling of fear. However, I did then kind of rally a little bit because obviously then it cut to some slightly more interesting footage and I thought, okay, all right, what else were we expecting to see in
I was
reality?
hoping for like a Hangover style thing.
With a tiger wandering around and things on fire.
It was clearly the night before and we're going to retrace our steps using the used Johnnies strewn around the club.
Well, yeah, but those first 10-15 seconds are quite critical in giving you a kind of gut feeling to things. And the visceral reaction I had was one of, oh shit, it's going to be seedy because of the condoms and the connotation that gives you.
I think the thing for me was that it was either going to be seedy or too comical. And it kind of, the sort of first few minutes certainly sort of straddled that line, seedy comical, which is generally where I live anyway. But it kind of worried me a bit. But as we got further and further into it, actually it was okay. It was kind of worrying though, because we were obviously waiting out to see ourselves.
And that's the thing, you're so distracted by waiting to see what you look like in that first glimpse, aren't you? But you're almost like galloping through the preliminary sort of footage that was obviously about the setup of the owners of the club and what have you. We were like, come on, where's our faces?
Yeah, we give no fucks about the rest of these jabronis. Come on, where's the bed hoppers? Put them on the screen.
Well, obviously, we do care about the whole package, as it were, but
you love the whole package.
you obviously have a vested interest in kind of looking at how you come across because that's your input in it.
You do, and I found that I went on a bit of an emotional journey throughout the piece because actually it was sort of when it did the little segment on us. I actually felt quite proud of the way that we came across.
Yeah.
Now we'll get into some of the thoughts on some of those things, but broadly, I kind of, there was an element of relief of actually I don't think we fucked this up, which for us is rare.
I found myself reaching for your hand most of the way through the programme.
But you kept grabbing my penis.
It just got in the way.
I know, it does
often
that.
happens. I just found myself reaching out and wanting to kind of, take you back into that journey with me because, it obviously had set the tone for we're going through this hour together. And at the same time, we had people sort of staying in touch with us and going, oh my God, there's your faces and this and that. So I found myself wanting to be really sort of close to you and needing you to kind of feel that with me.
Just
in a way.
like me, you long to be. What?
I did. And it's something we've done together. We went through together the whole thing, and I just wanted to kind of be with you.
I think
for a bit more support as well.
Yeah, I think there was definitely a kind of shit, we're in this together, let's bandy together here. But we're always close and touchy really anyway. So and I was really pleased that came across in the film. At least I hope it did. So that's how we kind of felt about it.
I felt relief when we got to the first ad break.
Yeah.
And by the first ad break, I wasn't broken. And I thought, oh my God, all right, we're 15 minutes in. We don't look like dickheads. We haven't come across as a pair of absolute chumps.
I think for
so
me,
far,
there was a bit of stuff. We filmed a lot of stuff because we filmed with them for a whole day and then the evening and then a little bit the next day or had pictures the next day. And there were some bits in there that I really didn't want to be shown on television. I wasn't happy with.
Same here.
And I was worried that they were going to make it into there. And I don't think there's no spoilers in it. It was just silly questions and it just felt a little bit sleazy about what we were being asked or how it was being approached. For the most part, the actual filming was really fun and a really nice time. But there were the odd moments where it kind of didn't feel as nice as it should have done. And I think, we did go and speak to the producers about that as much as we could and ask them not to show those bits. But it was really nice to see that hadn't been included.
Absolutely. And those elements, I think, would have really not upset me, but it would have felt really inauthentic to see them because they're not really a reflection of who we are and what we get from this.
Yeah. The other thing is that the other bit that was left out, and we'll come on to more of the stuff that was left out, was that I sang the fucking theme tune about 8 times for them and it wasn't included.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't offer to sing it. They asked you.
Yeah, I mean, every time.
To be clear.
Yeah, at the start of every
you
scene.
You just keep following them around going, with your ukulele going, please, just let me sing this.
Let me play, please. So what do we think of the thing? What was our
Do you want an overall feel?
What is your overall impression of the thing?
Gosh, and do you want this in one word or do you want just a rambling?
I've not planned it that far ahead. No. Just give me some brain dump. Take a massive brain shit on us.
That's always dangerous asking me to expose parts of my inner psyche. However, all right, for me, I was pleasantly surprised actually that it wasn't a complete farce. Because in the back of my mind, there was that nagging fear that it would be another repetition of the awful dogging tales that emerged several years ago.
Yeah.
Where everyone immediately associates it with and says, oh, God, is it going to be like that thing where they run around in masks and go around the woods? And I was so relieved that it wasn't that, for one.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought they really pulled some relatable and very touching concepts out there. And overall, I was so pleased that if nothing else, it's brought lots of people together to talk about something that is very taboo and not really discussed openly. Yeah. And for that reason alone, I'm so delighted to have been part of that and be able to be part of the aftermath and the sort of commentary and the feedback that has emerged off the back of it all.
Yeah.
So I actually feel okay. I didn't feel like I needed to change my name from Carla Spicy Wiener to something else and disappear into the ether and never show my face again. I felt I could walk in with my head held high and be okay about the fact that I'd appeared in it.
Yeah, and I'd echo that really. I think my resounding initial impression was it could have been a lot worse. And I know that's damning with faint praise or whatever the phrase is, but to a certain extent, we've seen so many documentaries which really don't take this lifestyle or swinging lifestyle seriously or don't give it a fair examination that actually I thought it was going to be a lot more silly and a lot more piss-takey and a lot more kind of look at these freaks. And I thought they handled the majority of it with care. Now, I've got some issues and we'll come on to those. And I've got some, not complaints, but things I would alter.
Maybe some thoughts around how you would have liked to have maybe seen some portrayals a little differently.
But overall, I felt like it gave a pretty good diverse mix of people, a pretty good view of different experiences that you might have if you go to a club. And actually, I came away thinking, I'm not embarrassed about this. I don't feel as though we've let the side down or I've let the side down. And I think, we stuck to what we believe in, and we've come away with that. So I was pretty proud of us for doing it. And I think it was pretty bloody scary. So overall, I don't think it's a program that's going to necessarily change the world, but I do think it might be a program that gets people talking.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah. And
absolutely, it's a good thing.
That's really important when it comes to normalizing non-monogamy. Hey, friends, I know they like that phrase, but it being the name of their show, but that's something that I think is really important with the whole lifestyle, because I don't want people to judge us and our friends for what we do. I think this should be, just part of life's great tapestry. So for that reason, I kind of thought it was all right. So, Mrs. H, if that is your real name, what was good about it? What were the good bits that you thought really came to life in this show?
Okay, so I think it did a brilliant job of exploring, as you say, the diverse range of people who are doing something a little unorthodox, and you don't have to fit into a stereotype, and you don't have to be a certain type of individual to enjoy a life less ordinary, So it was brilliant in that they brought together sort of, couples. Brilliant. We were a couple. There was another couple featured in the show as well. Obviously, it explored, the life of how it might feel from the lens of a single guy, the unicorn thing, and then obviously the older lady. Yeah. And it was brilliant in that it brought all that together. And yes, it showed it all through the lens of the club, because they had this overarching narrative about how it might all come together. But I like the fact that it was it showed you that anyone indeed can be enjoying this.
It felt like a really good mix of people.
Yes, it did. I think so.
But what I liked about it there on the night actually is that they felt like good people as well. Mm-hmm. So no one came across like a huge dick, which, is really important.
Phrasing.
You should never be 100% a dick. But, everyone seemed really nice. And although we didn't spend that much time with the people that were being filmed until the next day, when we did get some time to chat to them, actually, they were really lovely people. And that came across really well. We spent quite a lot of time chatting to Siobhan. And she was just a legend, bless her. She was lovely.
I think she was amazing. I think she was incredible for coming forward and giving her brutally honest, very, very compelling story. And I really hope she gets some credence and kind of basically an outpouring of support for that, because that can't have been easy to talk about that. And I think she's incredible for basically trying to live the rest of her life now doing what makes her happy.
Yeah.
And good on her.
And I thought the club owner did a pretty good job at first. And I'll be honest, I thought, it came across a little bit comical, and and it was kind of the trailer that had him in it was him talking to a young woman, and it just felt a little bit on the creepier side. Now,
it did a little.
I think actually when you listen to what he's really saying, and when you look at what he said throughout the course of the show, that sort of evaporated, and that didn't come across for me.
I love the little quote he gave towards the end, which was around, it's like a series of little relationships. It was really sweet.
It was, and I really like the fact that he kind of...
He gets it.
He gets it, and he clearly puts a lot of time and attention into making the club the best that it can be for him, and for the people that attend. Now, we'll talk about the club in a minute, but actually it was he felt like a very welcoming person on the night, although we didn't have that much to do with him, really, if we're really honest. We heard his buffet announcement, and that was it. We were gone, we were grabbing, prom rings and...
but what a legend with his T-shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone hasn't seen it, it was Viagra is for pussies.
Yes.
And you won't hear me say that word again. Well, not just yet, but but what a legendary bloke for, showing what you can do at that age.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So I think the other thing that, we've touched on it already a little bit, what was really good about it is this it was watched on the night, I think, by 1.1 million people.
That's incredible.
Which is a lot of people given the current climate, apparently. So the producer dude tells me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge amount of people that actually had some level of insight into non-monogamy and the swinging lifestyle. Now, it may not always be the best representation of that, or it might not be your experience, but the fact is that people have seen it and they are talking about it. Now, we'll talk about some of the reactions as well in a minute, but I'm just really pleased that off the back of this, we've had a lot of contact on Twitter and on Fab Swingers from people who are new, who are just looking to explore and dip their toes in, and they've seen the show and they have questions and they want to know all about it. And I think that's amazing. If it just helps guide people and give them an intro to this, or even just makes them talk about their own sex lives in a way, that's a victory as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. One of my other notable regrets, though, as you were talking about reactions, I just remembered how I felt when I heard about the prawn ring. Because that needs a notable mention.
Yeah, and this is part of the sort of Louis Theroux Weird Weekend style, sort of humour in the mundane. And there is,
I think so.
But I think there's a lot of charm to be had for that. And
a bit of nostalgia with a throwback to the retro sort of sex party type vibe, maybe.
Well, I don't think it's even that. I think it's almost a very British thing, isn't it? You have a party, you have a prawn ring. And it's almost that kind of retro sort of rose-tinted spectacles kind of view of the world. And this is the thing that Louis Theroux often does very well. Not that this was his documentary, but it's that pulling the regular, the humdrum out of a extraordinary situation. And it's all too easy to sort of, go, oh, here's some sex toys and to be caught up in that moment, because it's not something you see on television. And for people who aren't in the lifestyle and aren't open with their sexuality, there is a bit of a chortle to be had, especially with the British.
I noticed the look on her face when she was talking about, and she was like, she made a little inflection over there, and a prawn ring. Like, come on. Did you honestly not expect me to talk about it?
Yeah. The prawn ring proved popular on Twitter.
It really did.
And Facebook and the rest of it. The other really good thing that I was really happy with was that Yoko got to be on television.
Oh, she had her moment of stardom. She's just been like mooring her private yacht, actually, while we speak. She's famous now. Instant celeb overnight.
Yeah, clearly she's done very well. She's all the royalties are now coming in for Yoko and her work.
She's going to get her own spin-off series.
I know, right? But it was nice to see a slice of our home, because it genuinely was filmed in our house. Not the whole thing, because, we don't live in a sex club.
That'd be weird.
That would have been a bit strange.
Prawn rings every night.
Yeah, and have that kind of slice of, that's what life was like before COVID.
Yeah, actually. It feels quite weird now to even, think about setting foot in a place where there's lots of people. It's because this is the norm at the moment, like not going to these places and not having people around you. It feels odd.
And the other sort of final good thing before we move on to some of the more challenging aspects that I want to mention is that I had some feedback from my sister, and she was very affirming or very complimentary, and said that my mother would have loved the name drop. So
she absolutely would have been loving it.
A posthumous sort of name drop.
She would have loved to have watched it with us.
She'd have wanted to go to the club with us. I mean, that's the thing. But it was really nice to get that feedback actually from family and to have that level of support. So I was incredibly grateful for that.
And actually, this week, since it all aired, I've had more open, honest, truthful, authentic conversations with people. And it surprised me how amazingly supportive people have been, and not just kind of avoided me or not wants to talk about it. They've actually been, oh, cool. That was interesting.
Yeah. And
I feel like a huge weight is off my shoulders that I can actually be a bit more open and honest with people.
And that's been really cool. I think the feedback that we've had from people that follow us on Twitter, from people on Fab, Instagram, all the social media stuff has been really, really positive. Not always about the documentary, and I think people have their own thoughts around that, and we'll come on to ours about the more negative side of it. But actually, the support for us as we've gone through this journey has been really, really incredible, and we're so were so touched, actually,
Yeah.
in many ways as ever. But actually, it's been really, really gratefully received, and it wasn't an easy thing to do.
No, it really wasn't.
And we felt really drained come sort of Tuesday morning. We didn't go to bed until late. We were sat chatting to friends because
adrenaline rush.
Yeah, it was such an adrenaline rush. But actually, everyone has been universally sort of supportive with us. And I just want to take that moment to thank everybody.
Yeah.
So if you did that, have 10 bed hopper points. Thank you. Well done. You are awesome.
Brilliant.
That's right, sir and madam. You. So the less good things. Now,
yes.
watching the thing, I think it's really important to stress that we've not had any kind of edits of this. We didn't see it before it went live. And we know that with television, there is a story to tell. And the mechanism of having people go to a club on a Valentine's night, and I use that term loosely, and following the people that are going, it's designed to provoke a level of interest and designed to pull a story together. But I think it's really, really important to say that it wasn't staged in any way.
It was not.
Or certainly for us, our experience was that we said whatever we wanted to say, and we said a lot of stuff. And we kept talking, and then we didn't stop talking, but that's probably why there's not that much of us in there anyway.
We weren't told to go and do anything specific. We weren't placed in places. We weren't told to go and do specific things in any order. We were told to just be and do whatever we wanted.
Yeah. And
100%.
We weren't encouraged to play.
No.
It was very much a case of you do you, and we'll just follow you around. The uncomfortable moments that I mentioned earlier were much more about being in our own home and being asked questions that we felt that were a bit...
Those were some of the uncomfortable moments.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a couple of things I want to allude to on the club night. But yes, the home conversations were probably more... Because that was a longer exposure, wasn't it, really, where we had like a whole day of it.
Yeah, there was that. So I think the first big challenge for me, though, once we had watched the documentary, was around the language and some of the selling points and the salaciousness.
Some of the terminology.
Yeah, some of the terminology. So they used the term wife swapping, which fucking hell, it's not 1963. We've all got to grow up, and we're swingers. We're in the swinging lifestyle. We're ethically non-monogamous. All that sort of stuff. And wife swapping is just. And there was a couple of lines around people being desperate for sex, and that's and really, it
felt like we're on the prowl.
Yeah,
and that we couldn't be appeased, and we had to have sex.
and in a way, that commentary toned down some of the great stuff that was being said about relationships and connections and social elements and all the other good stuff that we really love about the lifestyle. So and I think it did include some of that stuff, but the salacious sort of oh my commentary on top of it didn't help. And I would love to have just changed a few of those words and just had a moment with that to make it flow a bit better and make it slightly less negative from our eyes. I suppose to the average listener or watcher of the show who hasn't had an experience of this, they don't know any different. So, my hope is that people will go away and educate themselves rather than taking some of this language with them. But there's always a risk because they've seen it on TV. They think that's the way, and that's how it goes.
And it shouldn't just make people assume that that's what we all do and want. And it really is a very, very broad generic term that they used. And as you say, I appreciate they used it to titillate and to provoke some reactions and have the general public, all 1 million of them, saying, oh, look, wife swapping. It wasn't. But you're right. It is there to sell, isn't it? And it's a narrative that's designed to pull people in and get them interested. So,
and I think given the fact that it has this narrative, it has a mix of people, but it's never going to show everyone's lifestyle experience.
Oh, God, no. Tiny section, really.
So it's really important to recognise that whilst you may see or recognise some of the elements that are in there, this isn't going to be your experience. If we're all being true to ourselves and doing what we would do when we would go to a club, then that's as real as it can be. So it's really important to think, if you don't believe this was, and we've seen a lot of comments with people asking if it's staged or if it's not real, they can't possibly portray in the course of an hour everyone's swinging experience, especially when they're only focused on one club night and with 5 or 6 people. There's only so much you can do.
And plus that club is potentially vastly different to club experiences that other people have had and that you would choose to have.
Well, that was a lovely segue and one that I was going to make myself, dear. The club is one of the other things that it's not that I have issue with, but it's not my favourite club.
Correct.
That sounds like a childlike tantrum in a way.
I think it's important to preface a little bit and explain that we're not huge club goers, to be fair. It's not something we seek out. It's nice to visit a nice one and potentially with friends, but it's not high on our list of this is the kind of centre of our non-monogamous universe. It's really not. No,
and typically most clubs are sort of an hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever away from us. So we do have to make a journey and we do have to stay and we do have to invest. What I would say though is that we went to Liberty Elite, which is where they held the event, and we'd been there before. I think back in episode 34, and our experience wasn't that great at the club. Now, part of that will be based on the night that you have, and granted, you could go there, go to the world's worst club, but meet the world's best people, and that's going to
have a great experience.
And that's going to impact your overall experience and your not rating of the club, but your thoughts
how
about
you come away feeling about it.
But certainly, our experience was it was a bit of a strange place, and it felt a little bit dated, a little bit dusty.
Yeah,
it's clearly clean, and it's clearly well cared for, and there's clearly thought in there, but it just doesn't feel like my place.
I would agree. And again, that's our opinion. And it's absolutely not casting any, opinions on how they run their place.
No.
It's great. And for some people, it might be their favourite club. In fact, having read lots of feedback, it is some people's favourite club. And that's great.
But for us, it wasn't a club that we were ever going to go back to. No. And it was only that they happened to be filming at this place that we agreed to come along. Now, which leads to another thing. So on the night, it was pretty fucking empty. Now, this was because it was held on a Sunday during the middle of a storm.
Dennis or something. It was a big storm.
And several roads were closed.
Yeah.
And it was Sunday, and it was like post-Valentine's Day, and you were going to be filmed on television if you came along.
It's not a great mix of please come along, is it?
No, it's a very difficult mix, and it's a very challenging thing to film, especially when, I think the producers struggled to get a number of people to go on television because you are revealing that you're ethically non-monogamous and you are a swinger and all this kind of stuff. And that, that is quite exposing. We know because we've fucking lived it over the last last 6 months, I suppose our journey has been on that front in particular. But this, we can't get much more open than going on a national fucking television show.
And using our real names. It's not for everybody, no. And to be fair, I'm amazed it got people at all in a way, because in a sense, the lifestyle does kind of point you to wanting to remain anonymous and wanting to preserve that kind of respect that you've got, because you don't want people to stand up and poke fun at you. You don't want to put yourself in front of millions of people who will then Monday morning in the office go, I saw you in a sex club. Why would you? So yes, it was very quiet for that reason, I think. Yeah.
And the other thing is that we didn't get to meet the other people that were being filmed until we went into the club.
So this is on one of your list of regrets. It's one of mine as well.
Yeah. And
I would have liked to have met them.
So
for a little chat.
Yeah, the other 5-6 people or whatever it was that were there on the night, we had to kind of work out who they were.
Right. No introduction.
Just by following who was following them around with cameras. Now, there were a number of other people that went there that night, but it wasn't a huge amount of people. It was really quiet. The other thing about filming there is, of course, they want to be able to hear what you're saying. So there is no music playing. It's just
so
this weird, empty, vacuous space with just gentle chatter.
It was like being in the Wetherspoons, because they don't really play music much.
Well, I don't think I'd ever say anything is as bad as being a Wetherspoons, quite frankly.
Like being like in an airport departure lounge or something weird. It was just like, it was weird, kind of no background music to kind of give you that ambience, I suppose. It's just your own voices, isn't it?
It really was. And it kind of felt really strange. And obviously it is a little bit of a forced situation. but it's not a stage situation in that we've not been told what to do and where to go and all this sort of stuff. But it is a kind of awkward one because you're sort of having half these chats while some camera person is sort of in your face or stood back and filming you, or
fiddling with your mic things,
wearing mics all the time and all this sort of stuff is going on. So it doesn't feel as natural as it might do. That said, when we did have a look around, there really wasn't anyone that we were particularly interested in.
And that's 100% genuine. That's whether cameras were there or not. It was 100% how I felt.
Oh, absolutely. It's quite interesting because, some of the editing will come on to that.
Yep.
Lots of things that we're going to keep coming back to.
This is the bit that I yelled at the TV about.
Yeah, there were a few yelling at the TV moments, but, you kind of... Oh, I've lost my train of thought now.
No, I think I know where you were going. You were basically explaining that there was nobody there of any particular interest to us that night, partly because it was very empty, I suspect. And also, yes, the pressure of the fact that you're in front of millions of people watching you anyway. It would have to be pretty fucking spectacular to want you to reveal any bits of your body, I think.
Well, I think we did say, and I think, we weren't that keen on getting naked in front of the camera.
No.
But actually, if we did find people that we were really interested in, then we could have played with them. But the chances are we probably would have gone back to our room to do so and had a level of privacy.
I do agree. That's absolutely the case. We that's how we want to remain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do think in terms of the swinging experience, it does, and this is where I really believe that it does represent a bit of a mix of that and does show some of the real swinging lifestyle in action, in that, we're a couple that we went there, we're absolutely firm in our beliefs. Mm-hmm. We didn't find anyone that we wanted to play with, so we went back to bed and play with ourselves.
Brilliant.
But you also had a couple that had some drama.
Yeah.
I've seen it in clubs. It happens.
Of course it does.
Younger couple, you see a single guy. There was a unicorn. There was the States person in there. So Siobhan. And so there was a mix of people that were in that environment.
There was also somebody who was in there that was incredibly intoxicated, and they, to their credit, they chucked her out.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I do remember that.
So, and again, that's very representative of what you might find in a club.
Yeah. So
someone having a bit too much.
Whilst there weren't many people in there, I do think it presented at least a selection of the lifestyle and a selection of stories.
It's a fair cross-section of what you might encounter.
Exactly. But the bit that stuck with me, I think, is overall the club itself isn't a place that I'd necessarily want to go back to. Mm-hmm. So for those that are sort of having a look and going, oh, it doesn't look what I'd like, there are many, many clubs across the UK and in fact across the world. And it's, there's so many different choices and options. It's always worth having a look to see what's in your local area and seeing if that club suits your style.
Yeah, don't tar them all with the same brush. There's so many different places that will cater to, what you kind of are looking for. And there's some clubs that are perhaps more kink based orientated maybe. And some are just like more... a bit more glam, maybe.
It was interesting because, I was having a chat with someone today and they said, well, I expected the rooms in there to be something like, 50 Shades of Grey, like the red room. And actually, we've seen many rooms that are just like that.
Of course.
But this was not one of those places. So, there was, whilst I think the owners, and I stand by this, seems like a really cool chap and loves the hell out of his club and does a lot for his clients, it just isn't our place. So for that reason,
not for the first time.
Not for the first time. So there was that. I think the other thing that I found quite a struggle, and this isn't the program itself, it's the reaction to it, and basically social media.
Yes. So before we move on to the social media piece, because that's quite huge, I wanted to briefly just mention again, whilst you're on the subject of the kind of flow and the editing of it.
Yes.
My particular irk was the way that they implied what we were looking for that night.
Well, there were two edits for us. So that sort of irked us, I guess, as a pair. So the first one was around, I was offering some explanation around what makes you jealous. Now you can,
that one.
There's that one, and you can clearly hear me. I'm cut halfway through because I'm sure I give a couple of more reasons for what might make me jealous.
You did,
because it's me and I can't stop talking. And then it cuts to Mrs. H there, who gives the most disgusted look known to man. What I love about this is TV magic, is that that reaction wasn't to that specific moment because it can't have been because there was only one camera. But that reaction was so perfect. We have had a plethora of people sending us gifs of that moment precisely. And we've seen it referenced a few times in social media as well.
People who know me will know that that's a look that happens naturally about 50 times a day.
The Mrs. H's displeased look.
Yes.
But what makes me laugh is some people have interpreted that look as you being, I'm definitely thinking about a big guy. Whereas I know that look is like, I am going to fucking kill him when as soon as these camera people are out of the room, he's going to die.
That is a typical Mrs. H look, isn't it?
And the other thing was around.
Yes. This what really annoyed me. So as I remember saying on the night, those naughty little squirrels decided to put across the impression that I was on the prowl, as it were, for a full swap that night, and that I had my eye on that couple. And I remember being extremely vexed at the fact that I did not say that at any point, and I was most definitely not on the search, and I did not have my eye on anyone particular apart from you.
Good.
Yeah, just saying.
Well, that's not good.
So it made me a little bit cross that I came across, or we, I should say, I say me because it felt a little bit more like it was aimed at me in a way, because they kept cutting to my expression when they were talking about the fact that, we had our eye on a couple, and then it kept showing me talking to this woman and like giving her the eyes, or I'm like, I was probably just eyeing up a glass of Prosecco, steady. I definitely did not have any intention.
I think it's fair to say that they were a perfectly lovely couple. They were very new, and it was very nice chatting to them. But there was never any intention on there. What was quite interesting, I think we did say, let's go and have a look at the
we did
the room,
just to have a look.
What I love is that we did kind of take one look, and then we were like, no. Nope.
Yeah, exactly that. So no, we maybe we came across as a bit boring as a result of that. Maybe,
but I
don't care.
I think the thing is that quite often we don't like putting on a show for people we don't know, if that makes sense, and sometimes we just like to enjoy each other's company because if there's nothing there that takes our interest, I think we're right to go, well, you know what, we don't have to kick the arse out of it. Let's just,
of course you don't.
Go back to our bedroom, and then I can cave our back doors in or something like that.
You just you take from experience what you want and what makes you happy at that moment in time. And if we didn't want to do anything else, then that's that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to publicly state that I did not necessarily have anyone lined up, and it certainly wasn't my intention to go and seek some wild sex that night if I hadn't kind of I wasn't feeling that. Well, I think it's that if we'd have found people that we were interested in, I think it would have been a different story. But the fact was that we didn't. We did chat to quite a few people there on the night, and absolutely we did.
But obviously you don't see that because of the magic of television.
I know.
A little bit of editing here and there.
Magic it is indeed.
I know, right? So as I was saying, internet reactions.
Oh my goodness.
It's been a fascinating insight. Now, we are no stranger to people commenting on stuff that we've been involved in. Of course
not. And we've got broad shoulders now. We know that people have an opinion. Of course, they're entitled to that.
But it's been a fascinating couple of weeks because, we've have been having some Twitter conversations with people where we've commented on their thing and they've taken it down. And it's kind of, you have to stand by your convictions a little bit.
I know. We said it in the first place. So yeah. So,
it's there now. We're on the show, we're there, and we have to live with what's there. So and we said, quite hopefully comfortably last week that if we didn't like something, we'd say. Now, and we absolutely respect everybody's rights to have an opinion and comment on stuff. So, but I was quite surprised at how negative people have been about certain situations that have happened.
Savage.
And I think there was a lot of stuff aimed at Siobhan, and I think up until the point where Siobhan revealed some of the trauma that she'd experienced in the past.
Yeah.
And then the comments pretty much dried up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And it really showed, and I think there was a moment where Hannah and Justin were talking about some wine bottle and what they'd done with it. Now,
oh my days.
Never yuck someone's yum, whatever it is.
I mean, each to his own.
But equally, if you're going to say that on television, then you got to expect a level of thought about it.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think the world is pretty much sat at home doing fuck all and has learned to comment even more on stuff. So it's been pretty tricky looking at some of those comments about people that are actually genuinely nice human beings that have just had a moment or just said something that they probably shouldn't have or revealed a bit too much. And I think, it was quite a struggle because we met we met all those people and they were nice human beings.
I think we definitely didn't deserve the onslaught of savage commentary that spilled from that.
Yeah,
but, equally, what's sad is sad. And you can't unsay things once they're out there. So, yeah, I think in hindsight, I don't know. I do feel for them because we've had our own sort of selection of comments that might have been aimed at us a little bit along the way, and it doesn't feel nice. But equally, people are just going to comment based on what they see and how they feel.
Yeah, and the story that they're presented with. And, we're privileged enough to have been behind the scenes on this and have seen some different pieces to it all. And, I'm privileged enough to have met them.
People often say, don't say something unless you're happy to say it to someone's face. And, would those half of those people come up and say that kind of thing in that tone to you face to face? I'd like to think not. But equally, it's easy to say something like that, isn't it, when you're safely behind a keyboard and you can just spew vitriol at people and just get a laugh out of it. But there's people on the end of that. It's hurtful.
This is true. And I think one of the big bits of feedback that I've seen, particularly on Fab Swingers, is around, why couldn't they pick like regular swingers? And this is just...
That mystified me, that comment.
Well, it mystifies me. And I think part of their complaint is around, they've all had so much trauma. And, well, and I do resent this sort of comment because I think, everyone's gone through stuff in their life. And I think it would be a boring television show if we didn't explore some of them as human beings, because we want to know who they are. We want to root for people and root them sometimes and get to know them as real life people. And to do that, you have to talk about what's gone on in their lives.
And you have to live life.
Yeah. And if that trauma or that moment has been a big influence on what they're doing, that's absolutely fine. We all have different reasons for doing what we do and being in the lifestyle and other things. As I spoke very openly about my mum passing away and that being a trigger for us, but actually for us, the journey is so much more than that because it's expanding our adventures and our lives together.
And it's interesting because, obviously you revealed some snippet of your own personal sort of story that obviously had a level of trauma and sadness in it.
Yeah.
Does that mean, ergo, are you dysfunctional and fragile and broken? And
that's me anyway.
But no, this kind of, unsaid implication that all the people featured in that show were shown as being dysfunctional and socially, not fitting in some way. And, they're then linking that with, why do we have to show people that are swingers that always have some awful backstory? Well, actually, every person in life probably has some element, as you say, of sadness and trauma and something that would make them sound a bit broken if you were to ask them to reveal something like that. But that's not why people are swingers, and you don't have to have that in your life to be a swinger.
No, I think, and that was, and I guess that's kind of where people are coming from to a certain extent, is that, anyone could be a swinger. At least that was the design behind it, to kind of show it could be the person next door to you, it could be a teacher, it could be a whatever. And actually, it doesn't matter what your background is either. People have trauma all the time. People go through really difficult situations. That shouldn't stop you from enjoying the lifestyle. And anyone can get stuck in there as a result.
Do you think that the show kind of positioned itself around implying that people who are non-monogamous can't experience love then? Because there was a few comments around, do you think the sex would feel better if you were in love with somebody? Do you think if you were in a relationship, you'd be happier?
I think, that was a little bit of an angle, because I think that's something that the average person that's not in lifestyle might be interested in. They might want to know that. So, and that is often something that comes up around the jealousy, is that, you send your partner away to don't send them away, but you know what I mean? They get to play with somebody else. What happens if that person is a better lover than you? Is it that love makes the difference in that? Is it that your connection makes it stronger or better sex or whatever it might be? And I think that's one of the, certainly from our experience, and I think, I can't remember exactly how much we spoke about this, but, for us, the reconnection is the best part of everything. Is, the love that we have between us is incredible. And that's what drives us to have adventures together. And, I know that no one can compare to you.
Yay.
Which is good. So I'm contractually obliged to say that at least every 3 episodes, legally, of course. But, I think, and people are going to be interested because actually, what if someone is better? What if there's a jealousy piece there? How do you cope with all that? I think that's where that comes from.
Yeah, perhaps. But I think they were trying to also get a bit of an angle that people like the single girl, the single guy, but even Siobhan, were doing it because they can't find love. And this is almost like they're settling for, this sleazier way of life because they're unlucky in love, maybe in some way. Maybe it's their choice to just bang around and feel happy.
And I think that's the thing, is that, we come from a slightly more hopefully educated sort of way of life. And I think, it is fun to go and explore, and, if you can do, why not? But I don't think the show pulled out too much of that stuff. I think the trauma aspect was probably dialed up a bit. I think there were a couple of questions around love, but it was very quickly swept away. And I think some of the stuff that the owner said kind of talked around that as well.
I do. I think I found it more reflected in some of the commentary we saw as well. Yeah. Coming from the social media stuff. I think I saw a few sort of comments around that.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, to be fair, there's been so many comments. And,
I know.
Some of the forums on Fab Swingers have been shut because there's just too many comments for them to handle. Yeah. And given the technology, that's probably 6 comments. But, it is a tough topic, because I think everyone has their experience of swinging and lifestyle and non-monogamy, and they all see it their way. We have our way of doing it. You have yours. You might be similar, you might not be, but your way will most certainly have some differences to the way that we do it. It might be the rules. It might be the way you see it, or the way you feel about it, or the way you deal with jealousy, any of those things. And when you look at a program like this, you want to see your version on screen, because that's what you're proud of. That's what you want to promote. That's what you tell your mates about, if you can, that you're really happy about. And if you don't see that, you feel cheated, because that's the bit that speaks volumes to you. Now, and this is why I was really keen, or why we were really keen for us to go on the show, because we wanted to present our version of this, because this is the thing that we love. And, some people, and, you said there's been so much feedback. Some people have been, well, why wasn't everybody fucking? Why weren't they all getting down to it? Why were that couple boring? And you know what? That's not our way. We don't turn up and we don't just rock up and fuck. And we've been true to ourselves, and the people that were on the show were true to themselves.
Yeah.
So, and if you wanted to see that version of the lifestyle, then you should have gone on television and presented it. Also, granted, this is a 60-minute or 60-something minute show. It's an hour-long documentary, or whatever it was, 60 minutes an hour. The same thing, isn't it, really? It can only...
Generally speaking, the 60 minutes an hour, yeah.
It can only show so much, and it can only do it through the lens that it's got and the storytelling that it's got. It has to be compelling. It has to sell, because it's a producer making it for a channel who then sells it, and they sell the ad breaks and all that sort of stuff. So there has to be a level of salaciousness. There has to be a bit of storytelling. Otherwise, what's the point for them?
No one will tune in.
No.
Exactly.
If it was just to sit down and chat to some people because they have sex with other people, chances are, unless you saw some element of that sex going on, would you watch it? Probably not.
No, so, you might listen to it, because it might be something that's more suited to like some audio debate, but it's certainly not something that you would put on national TV.
Tonight, 2 swingers interviewed about what they do.
They sit in a room and talk.
Yes. You won't see any salacious sex clubs. There are no red lights here.
No
this is amazing.
Rings.
No prawn rings. No funny moments where they only wash it at 40 degrees. None of that stuff. and if it was just a boring conversation, you'd sit there and you'd be like, oh, yeah, great. This non-monogamous lifestyle is boring as fuck. Whereas the reality is it can be exciting. It can be fun. It can be, great. But there has to be a balance between how you sell it and how you draw people in. And I get that having a few of those comedic moments, as much as they annoy me, are really important to getting people hooked in and talking about it.
They're kind of a glue that brings it all together in a way. And I know you're so Jedi and you like to bring balance to the Force. So, I think maybe that's what we were trying to do. We were trying to give an unbiased view and of our own experience, and then have that slot in with other people's.
Yeah, I think, we've done 83 now episodes of a show and been on countless others and all this sort of stuff. And we've found our way in this world, and you take what you want out of it.
Yeah, of course.
And, as a listener, you kind of go, oh, that sounds about right. I like the way that Mr. H Batmans his way through life, but I also like the way that Mrs. H rocks up and, slips, trips and falls on a dick. They're all fine.
Wow, when did that happen? What episode was that?
That was like every episode.
How dare you?
I know, amazing, isn't it? But you could take that out of it and you take the bits that you want rather than the whole thing, which is why we do this. And the same is exactly true of us going on the show, because I think it's really important that everyone hears about swinging. Now, the other thing I want to address very briefly before we start wrapping this up, honestly, is...
Oh, you are going to wrap it up
yeah. The Mr. H's final moment is going on for
like... You can go on for like a few more hours about everything.
I did have a point.
I'm sure it was a very fine point.
It was a very, very fine point.
It was a salient point.
It's always salient.
However, I think what we were trying to say overall with the overall holistically, we've got the social media backlash, which is still now entering, as I said to you earlier, a more reflective kind of phase for me, I think now. We've gone with the immediate visceral outpouring of, oh my God, I'm disgusted, or this was a travesty, and all the other stuff, and the nice stuff as well. And now what we're finding is the more salient points where we're starting to catch up on some of the messages more, and we're starting to get some really good insight, I think, as to what people really thought about it all.
Yeah, and I'm pleased to say that I think, we've had some really positive feedback.
We've had some lovely feedback. And let's be honest, we have had some nice stuff.
And I think overall the show has been received relatively well. I think, I think parts of the swing community have their issues with it. And it just depends on how dismissive or how militant they are about their own particular style. And I think that's where I've kind of become a bit sort of not defensive. Because I don't want to defend the program, but I think it has a right to be there. And it goes back to that, if their version of it isn't on there, that they're unhappy. Yeah. But the reality is that this was a show seen by millions of people, or 1.1 million people. And people are talking about it, and non-monogamy, the more that it's in the mainstream, the more it's out there, the more we can talk about it, the better. And I'll get back to that point that I was going to say, but is around, some people will say that by making it mainstream, you take away the tabooness of it. But actually, I think it would be much more important to not feel ashamed of doing it and to be able to talk to people openly about it. I'm not saying that we all need to sit down and have a roast dinner with our kids and tell them about who we were fucking last night. No, what I mean is that when you go into work and people say, did you have a good weekend? You can actually talk about this in an open, mature and adult way. Okay, depending on your work, you might not want to do that, but you get the idea, where friends and family, you don't have to hide and you don't have to be ashamed of it.
No, I mean, it's a hobby at the end of the day, isn't it? It's what you choose to do in your personal life, and you have fun from it. And it should be no different to someone saying, well, yeah, I played a round of golf.
Yeah, so I played some video games, I collected some Transformers, and I fucked a couple of people.
Didn't play golf though.
No, why would I play golf?
It's exactly that. It's something that brings joy to our life, and countless other people like to do the same in their lives. So why should you feel shame?
Exactly that. So to round up,
okay,
I've been summarizing for like 20 minutes now.
Oh, I know.
I know. Sorry, apologies for monologuing everybody. But I felt very passionately about this. I just want to say a massive, massive thank you to everyone who got in touch and supported us and cheered our corner. all of our podcasting brethren out there who have all stepped up and helped us and given us advice and all that stuff. You've all been fucking fantastic, and I applaud you and thank you from the very bottom of my heart, really.
Your heart?
My heart,
right.
Yeah. My deep, dark, dank pit that once housed a heart. Thank you from that. Honestly, you've been fantastic. And also, thank you to all of the people who are interested in lifestyle that have been in touch over the last week or so and asked us their questions. Hopefully we haven't put you off it at all. And also thanks to the 1911 crew for doing the documentary. I'd also like to thank God.
I was going to say, here we go.
And Yoko.
This is Oscar worthy.
It is. I'd like to thank Yoko for her Oscar winning performance of sitting on the sofa and staring blankly with her raisin-like eyes.
I'd like to thank all the people who made me into a GIF.
Yes.
You truly are the GIF that keeps on gifting. And that's going to bring so much joy to so many people's lives.
It is. I've already used it. Yeah, I keep sending it to my sister. It's hilarious.
A lot of people did love that.
I know, right? On that note, Mrs. H, do you want to wrap up this thing?
I do. Yes, I really do. I'm just quite exhausted from the sheer roller coaster of it all.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not a Corona coaster. That's fucking awful.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, by the way, if you do want to get in touch with us, we're on Twitter at Bedhoppers.
Oh, yeah. So we are.
You can write to us on bedhoppersuk@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as Bedhoppers Suck. Hang on, aren't we Bedhoppers UK on Twitter as well?
You tell me.
I don't know. We're just on Bedhoppers somewhere.
You're a social media king.
Yeah, I've lost my will.
You steer this ship.
Yeah, I'll steer this dying plane into the ocean.
And we're on Fab as well.
As Bedhoppers.
And where can they listen to us? Everywhere.
Well, if they found this, they already are listening.
Oh, yeah. What's a podcast?
Exactly. Right. Wind it up.
All right. Well, thank you, millions of people. Thank you for hopping into our bed.
You ready?
I'm still ready.
Are you still ready?
I'm always ready. Even though
go?
you think I'm late, I'm always ready.
Are you pre-lubed up and lubed up?
What? Double lube?
Double lubed.
Are you stuck in a double lube?
I'm stuck in a double loop. Right. Let's give it some time.
All right.
Welcome to episode 83 of the Bedhoppers podcast. My name is Mr. H.
I'm Mrs. H.
Are you sure?
I don't know who I am after this week.
Really?
Yeah. I think I'm Mrs. H.
Well, that made... I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.